Good morning, AO Southwest. My name is Paul Vassallo, your Director of Leadership Development for the Vini Camp Agency. We are coming to you live from the Phoenix studio today on this beautiful Tuesday. It is April 9th, and we are very excited to be back in the studio with you today live. We want to give a big shout out to the 4 key leaders that took time out of their Cabo trip last week to spend time with you all, to give a little bit about their stories, their background, to pour into all of you. So a big shout out and thank you to all of those leaders that were on the podcast last week. But we are very excited to be back in the studio live with you today with the one and only Michael McKiernan, who is going to deliver for you guys on a level that we've never had before, because not only is he one of the youngest up-and-coming rising stars, not only in our agency, but the company. He was the fastest promoted to the board of directors that we've ever had. And so we're very excited to hear from him today and what he has to share for you, for all of you. But a couple of housekeeping things. Again, like every week, we want to make sure that you sign in on the podcast to make sure we know every leader is on the podcast so we can track that, because the attendance is very key for us to be able to deliver for you on a weekly basis. And the next thing, the hashtags that you see here at the bottom, the hashtag takeawaytuesday, hashtag nextgenleadership. Again, we're going to be running a contest this week for the top takeaway posted on your Instagram story. Take a selfie video, talk to us about what you got from Michael and his story, what resonated the most with you, and then we're going to choose a winner for next week to make sure that you're broadcasted live on your takeaway on this call next week. And so what we're going to do is we're going to jump right into recognition before we get into the leadership message of the day. We're going to get back to the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership today, but today it's about you. You've gone out and done some amazing things in the field these past couple of weeks, but this week we want to make sure we jump right into the referrals collected is where we're going to start today. And so here we go. We're going to start with the top 3. Miss Jessie Holland. So she's kind of given up the #1 spot, but we know she's going to come back for it, coming in 3rd place with 46. Erica League with the 2nd place referrals collected with 51 in total. And JD Willie out there in Dallas doing his thing with 76 referrals collected for the week. JD, it's good to see your name at the top of the list. Keep up the good work. Now, in order for you to collect a referral, you now need to take that and convert it into a referral presentation. And so here are the top 3. Cynthia with 6 referral presentations, getting closer and closer to double digits every week. Cynthia, keep up the good work. JD Willie, there you go again. You see his name up top. Number 2 with 7 referral presentations last week. But Erica League, so proud of you. Got to talk to you a little bit last night and give you a shout out of congratulations, because you come through and not only collect the most referrals, but you sit the most referrals. And so we're very excited for you as you go on to do double digits every single week and what that's going to mean for you and your business. And so now you sit the referral. Let's make sure we protect the family. And so here's the top 7 leaders, but let's talk about the top 3. Miss Erica League coming in again with over 5,042 in premium written last week. Carlos Arbayo out of New Mexico coming in with 5,744 in premium written last week. So Carlos, great job. But Mr. Trey Bestwick, one of his best weeks that he's had with 7,155 in premium. And talking to him, he's just getting started. He says he's just getting warmed up before he moves out to Dallas and helps run and grow that territory. So Trey, keep up the good work. We're proud of you and everything you got going on. But now let's talk about the productivity. Again, you saw the green scores next to the name. So again, when you're in 1st place, you get 10 points. 2nd place, 9 points. 3rd place, 8 points, so on and so forth. And so the productivity scores, what we're looking at is Miss Jessie Holland has been dethroned for the top spot. She's coming in a tie for 2nd place with JD Willie with 19 productivity score, and Miss Erica League with a 27 out of 30 possible points. Congratulations on a huge week. We're very, very proud of you and with what you did. So Miss Erica League, congratulations with the productivity score of a 27. But now the productivity score is great because it shows you showing up across the board in every facet of the business. But the consistency score is really what we're talking about, because we're talking about your productivity score added up over the last 7 weeks, and then you divide that by 7. And so when we look at the top 3 here, we have Mr. Lamar Smith out of the Tempe office with a 9.13 consistency score over the last 7 weeks. We've got Larry Potluck. He was our guest on the podcast in Cabo, and he's coming out of the Chicago office with a 14.13 consistency score over the last 7 weeks. But Miss Jessie Holland stays on top with the first place score of a smooth 20 across the board over the last 7 weeks. So Jessie, great job. We know you're going to be coming for the top referrals collected in AOP this week. And so a big shout out to all of you for all the great work that you've been doing in the field. But we want to get back into the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John C. Maxwell. Because of the nature of being off of the 21 Irrefutable Laws the last couple of weeks, we want to make sure we just do a review briefly to get everybody caught back up before next week diving into a new topic. And so law number 1 was the law of the lid. And when we talk about the law of the lid, it says, John C. Maxwell says, people can only go as far as their leadership ability. So we want to make sure we continue to increase our lid. Law number 2 is the law of influence. Leadership is influence, nothing more or nothing less. Titles don't have much value when it comes to leading. True leadership cannot be awarded, appointed, or assigned. He goes on to say in law number 3, the law of the process, he talks about what is your plan for growth, but most importantly, what intentional steps are you taking? Because when you look at the most successful people in any facet of their life, whether it be their personal life, their business, their faith, whatever the case may be, you're going to sit down and talk to somebody about somebody being very intentional about what it is that they're successful at. Because success at this high of a level is never an accident. Everything is planned and everything is thought out. So what is your plan and what intentional steps are you taking? Law number 4, the law of navigation. What he says is anyone can steer the ship, but it takes a leader to chart the course. Leaders who are capable of navigating can take their people just about anywhere. Law number 5 was the law of addition. What he talks about is bottom line in leadership isn't how far we advance ourselves, but how far we advance others. That is achieved by serving others and adding value to their lives. And so when we're talking about the law of addition, you know, they say attitude is contagious. Is yours worth catching? Are you adding or are you subtracting from the people in your circle or the people that you spend the most time with? So we want to make sure that you always keep that in mind. Are you adding to those that you're around? Law number 6, the law of solid ground. What he says is trust is the foundation of leadership. Let me say that again. Trust is the foundation of leadership. People need to be able to trust their leaders in order to follow them. Law number 7, law of respect. If you're a 7 as a leader, an 8, 9, or 10 aren't likely to follow you regardless of how well you plan. So what can you do about it? Become a better leader. There's always room to grow. Going back to law number 1, raising your leadership lid, that's what we're talking about here. If you're a 7 right now, you're going to have a challenge of maybe hiring and training a Dustin Wienekamp because his leadership ability is so high. But when you become an 8, 9, or a 10, that's when you can really start to attract the top talent because now you are on the same level or even above. And now when we talk about law number 8, law of intuition. Leadership is really more of an art than it is a science. It changes with every leader in every situation. If you want to lead long, lead well, and stay ahead of others, you've got to obey the law of intuition. So let me say that again. If you want to lead long, lead well, and stay ahead of others, you've got to obey the law of intuition. And why that's so important is because you can't lead everybody the same way. Simply speaking, not every person is the same, every personality is the same. And so that's where, as a leader and as a coach, you have to understand what motivates that person and be able to speak to that. And then law number 9, law of magnetism. Who you are is who you attract. That is the law of magnetism. If you want to attract better people, become the kind of person you desire to attract. And so that is one of the hardest truths to accept as a leader, is that if it is to be, it is up to me right? And so when you want to attract somebody better, you have to continue to grow and be the best version of yourself. And so when you take ownership of that process, you're going to be able to start to attract that 8, that 9, that 10, that star that you've been wanting to potentially hire or recruit for a long time. But when you continue to grow yourself, that is when you will start to attract the people that you are looking for. And so that's the summary of the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership today. We are very excited about going into the video, or the next video up, because Miss Erica League not only went out and crushed the field last week, but she took a little bit of time out of the field to prepare a short clip for you as to what she did to win and win at a high level. So Erica, go ahead, take it away.
Hi, it's Erica out of the Phoenix office, and I'm so grateful to be able to share with you all on how I had my best week ever last week. So there were 3 things that really helped me to be successful. First being that I put my focus on referrals. I made a commitment to myself that I would hit double-digit referral presentations. Now I hit that commitment by staying consistent and booking from the home and booking from the driveway after every single appointment. The second thing that helped me to be successful was having someone in the car with me. It pushed me to give my best presentation every single time and stay on script. Lastly, I completely changed my mindset from the previous weeks. Instead of just focusing on a sale, I was truly able to focus on that family in front of me and how I could help protect them. I also did have a lot of no-shows throughout the week, but I was able to keep a positive mindset and utilize that extra time wisely. So stay focused on collecting and converting your referrals into sits, have someone in the car with you, and have a positive attitude, and go out and make it your best week ever.
Erica, congratulations again. You did an amazing job last week, but here's the challenge that I always present to the person who had the highest productivity score for the last week is, can you do it again? No one wants to be the one-hit wonder. You've seen Miss Jessie Holland come out here and absolutely just back it up week in and week out. So Erica, the challenge is now out to you. Go out and be the top person again. Go give Jessie a run for her money and go do those double-digit referral presentations again. We're very proud of you, so congratulations again. But now let's move into ultimately why we're here today, to hear from the one and only Michael McKiernan. And so I have a couple of his statistics, and this may take a couple of minutes to get through all of these, so just bear with me, okay? So Michael has only been with the company for just under a couple of years. And so when you talk about a transition from being a 22, 23-year-old young man when he starts to where he is today, it's absolutely amazing. But it took him 4 months to get to MGA, 9 months to the board of directors. And let me remind you, that was the fastest ever. So there's if anybody out there is competitive, there's the benchmark. He's been on 4 consecutive board of directors. He's promoted 16 managers in 16 months. So just averaging a smooth 1 manager a month promotion. But he's already been a part of opening 2 to 3 offices. And so we're very excited to have him with us on the call today. So Mr. Michael McKiernan.
All right. Awesome.
How are you, sir?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Absolutely. Thank you for being on with us today. And so we understand that you just got back from Dallas on Sunday night.
Yes.
And Cabo for
right
what,
a
week or so before that, and then you were in Dallas for how long before that?
Overall, we were gone for about 6 weeks.
Okay.
About 4 weeks in Dallas, a week in Cabo, and then a week back in Dallas. So
okay.
It's good to be home. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We are glad to have you on the call, because you're one of the stories that we've been wanting to make sure has been heard because of all the success that you've had. But you didn't always start in insurance, did you?
No.
So did you go to school to study insurance?
No, I did not.
So talk to us a little bit about what your story was prior to American Income, and what were you doing for your career at that point?
Yeah, so prior to American Income, I was kind of just searching for the next big thing. I always had the mindset of doing something different,
okay.
But I wanted to be surrounded by the right people. There's something to say about being at the right place at the right time as well. So there's different instances in my life, different business ventures that I played around with, that I may have felt that way for a short time period, but I didn't see it as something that could be really long term. And oddly enough, actually leading up to American Income, I was playing a little bit of poker. My good friend Nick Lawrence, we have a similar story. I was patiently waiting for the right opportunity. So for about 8 months, I was playing some poker. Cherie was playing a lot with me before Audrey was born. We were, had to find things to do that weren't gonna, put, any strain on her being pregnant. And so finally, once I met Dustin and once I met with Carpenter, I really knew I was gonna be able to take off and run with this opportunity, and it was exactly what I was looking for. But prior to this, no experience in financial services, no experience in, really direct sales or anything of that nature. So this was all kind of new to me, but I got excited about it.
Absolutely. Well, there's a lot to get excited about, but so let's talk about poker real quick, because poker is not a team game.
No.
You can't play poker as a team. You don't build teams in poker. You don't build people in poker. that is pretty much as individual as it gets, right?
Yeah.
And so with that being said, where did you learn? How did you develop yourself to come in here and have that kind of success early? Because that's a great story, but where do you learn those skills? Where does someone go to develop themselves like you have?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, really starting when I was about 16, I started reading and different books, listening to different audios, really trying to grow my mind and think outside the box. I saw my family members, my friends' parents, working, their grandparents work until the day they die. And I saw, 50, 55-year-old people still having to, punch the time clock. And I didn't want to be at that stage and, when I'm at that point in my life. Yeah. No disrespect, but that just wasn't the route I wanted to go. And sometimes people, aren't presented an opportunity to get themselves out of that, unfortunately. And so I'm very grateful that I was presented that opportunity at such a young age. And, I just got so excited about that. So I was able to take some of the skills that I learned from the conferences I attended, the books I read, the audios I listened to, whether it's starting off, I remember the first book I ever read was Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Really
changed my life. Absolutely.
So it was the first book I read. I don't even think I was a senior in high school yet. So, whether it was just, lemonade stands as a kid or selling, clothes or whatever, tickets to a show, whatever it could have been, I was always trying to think outside the box and make it happen. So a lot of it was self-teaching, and like deciding to actually go and study the material that's out there on the internet and in Barnes and Noble and out there at the conferences, Grant Cardone, or maybe it was John Maxwell, or could have been Darren Hardy or Tony Robbins, Bob Proctor. I've seen all these people live, and that really helped me out and kind of set me up for greatness, I guess you can say.
Absolutely. Well, and what's great about it is your story is just starting, right? And so there's so much more to go to that. But it's funny you mentioned Rich Dad Poor Dad, because like I said, that's kind of what changed everything for me. But when you talked about thinking outside the box, we have a license here to print money ultimately, right? You've got a $3,000 problem this week. You can go out there and write $6,000 in premium, and you just made that money on Friday, right? But that story, when they start printing silver coins, out of the lead from the toothpaste, right? Talk about thinking outside the box. So I encourage you to all go out there and read Rich Dad Poor Dad. It will help evolve your mind and your mindset for sure. But I want to talk to you about your early success in the company. So as an SA, you were starting to build an agency, and you started to have some success, but you hit this point to where you had to actually let everybody go. Yeah. And then kind of start over from scratch, but you were still able to get to MGA in 4 months and still able to become the fastest ever to board of directors. So can you kind of walk the newest person on the call, or the newest SA on the call, through kind of what that looked like for you, and mentally how did you overcome that? Because if I'm an SA and I have to let go of my whole team, that could be a challenge, right? So where was your head at, and how did you work through that?
Yeah, it's a really great question. So that actually was really the defining moment in my career, to this point at least. So going back to July 22nd of 2017, that was the day I got my first solo presentation. And I actually, when I was in training, never saw a spit kit filled out, so I didn't even have one. So I had to go back, and Carpenter had to go back with me the next day. To this day, that policy's still in the books, so that was pretty cool.
So you did a good job.
FOP lady that worked in Casa Grande. But anyways, so at that point, right away, when I had gotten started, they told me I I can run an office within a year. I got excited about that. And for the, kind of fast forwarding before we go back, that actually happened. And for the first time in my life, something actually happened when it was said to be.
Yeah.
That's not the case with most opportunities or careers, jobs, whatever. So I got excited about that, and I asked what I was supposed to do. And we didn't have the starting 10, the bench 5. We didn't have all these, career meeting scripts and things like that. It was kind of just, hey, well, you need people in your car to train, so we're hiring. If you make recommendations, I'll do the interviews. That's what David told me. So sure enough, like 3-4 people in the first 2 weeks started passing exams. I called David. I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do here. I know you're busy, but I've got 3 or 4 guys to train. He's like, well, so do I. And I was like, okay. So he's like, so you're getting promoted to essay. And I was like, but I don't even know what I'm doing. Figure it out. So again, it's cool to see how you're able to receive opportunity and promotions before you even really feel ready for them. That's the type of business and career path that we have here with American Income and with AO, specifically AO and AO Southwest. So fast forward around September 10th to September 15th, in that range, I took my first, because I started licensing in the end of May, passed my test 2 days before Audrey was born, my daughter, and had to be home for a little bit, so training took a little bit to get rolling. But fast forward to September, so about a month and a half after I got released, I took a vacation for my birthday and with Cherie, and we decided to leave, and I came back, and the team had submitted 160 ALP. And there was 4 agents, and I was like, wow, this is a little rough. What did I do wrong? I called David. I called my GA at the time as well, and that essentially they're like, okay, well, you need to get on the road. So I got on the road, had my first week over 9,000 in the field in Sholo, Arizona. That was my first road trip, and helped write business for some people, get some agents released. I was by myself. I didn't have my MGA with me. It was just me and my team, 4 agents and 2 trainees. That was September of 17. And they did all right out there, but once we got home, it was the same thing. It was I felt as if I was a psychologist or a counselor. People weren't motivated to work, and I didn't want to disappoint them or fail them. So I continued to try to save what was kind of already a done deal. They weren't necessarily trained on referrals and didn't have all these systems and processes like we do now, to where it prevents this from occurring. So after October production month, the road trip, it didn't go very well in Prescott. It was the hardest month of my life. I was now in month 4, and it was just not good. Let's just leave it at that. So I got on the phone with my mentors. Their recommendation was, you need to let everybody go. And I was like, well, I have this one guy, he's only 3 weeks in. They're like, he hasn't done anything to prove he wants this. He's not showing up, he's not working, he's not excited. It's not worth it. Don't waste time with with time wasters. And if somebody really wants it, spend 80% of your time there. And so I had to make a decision where I basically let everybody go, 4 agents, and then the 5th was brand new. And I gave him 3 weeks, and that was that. My good friend Patrick, he kind of went into more of a transitional role into staff and helping with quality at that point, and everybody else was kind of on the way out. This was now November, early November, and to kind of make a long story short, by December, a month later, by Vegas, some names you heard on the show today, and that you hear all the time, were hired and released all back to back. Cherie McCarty, Claudia Shirelli, Dylan Fody, Trey Beswick. Shortly after that, we had Alex Saladrigas, Gerard Armstrong. Leaders were starting to form, and things were starting to come together, at a rapid rate. And these, this is all within a month after this occurred.
After you had to let everybody go, and now,
right
here you are.
Austin Johnson, the same phase as well. So December, right at conference in Vegas, we won Agency of the Year. We brought everybody. The rule was you had to be coded. So December 5th of 17 was the day before Vegas. And I took Cherie and Claudia out. We got them both coded. We wrote 4,600 that day. Dylan took out Trey Bestwick, got him coded. They all got to come to Vegas. And, you know, within 3 weeks, took an MGA ship and promoted 4 essays that all really started getting excited about building their dream team.
Wow.
So from early November to like basically cutting everybody loose to like mid to end December, it was a great Christmas present. You know, an MGA contract and 4 new essays that, you know, are still with the company.
Yeah.
To this day. That was December of 17. So that was kind of how I overcame that. And then 3 months later, we experienced just unbelievable amounts of growth. You know, we went from what we wrote all of 2017, those last 5-6 months, we did that in January, and then we did it again in February, and then we like quadrupled that in March. And that's what kind of landed that appointment to the board. It was just a decision of all that work 60 to 90 days prior started to compound. I was always told by a guy kind of speaks for a different industry, started to develop. So that was kind of a major breakthrough, and then we never looked back.
Absolutely, because now you've been on 4 straight board of directors, right? And so congratulations on that, and I'm sure you're probably not going to want to be giving that up anytime soon, right?
No. We got to grow this quarter.
There you go. And so what have you focused on the most to maintain that level of performance? Because obviously the first quarter of 2018, like you just explained, January you did more production than you ever had before. And then February you backed it up again, and then March you basically quadrupled it. So now you're kind of there, right? So how does the mindset look? Like, what are you focused on now the most to maintain that level of growth and to continue to go versus, okay, now you got there, but to now be on 4 board of directors in a row, you obviously have to be maintaining something and doing something very well. So how has that mindset shifted and grown to where, okay, now I've developed a system in a business to allow, you know, that continued success?
Yeah, that's a great question. So right in March, that was when, right before March started, I hired my assistant at the time. She was amazing, and honestly, you know, the only thing I would have done differently there was maybe teach the hiring process to her, so we could duplicate even faster. But we went out and became the top hiring MGA ship in the entire, you know, agency for the year, and she was a big part of that. So shout out to you for that. And so I started investing. That was the first thing. When did you start investing? That was in February. Well, I mean, aside from just like office dues and like here and there with quality with Patrick, it was in like March 1st of 18. So right before we kind of took off, I saw just the January and February months of like us doubling what we did in 5 months prior, back-to-back months. I decided I needed to start investing the difference of what I was now making. Good. That led to continued growth through personal recruiting and through personal referrals, and that improved my organization and efficiency, so I could go out in the field and deliver when necessary, when I'm training the next stud or, you know, the next big thing. Fast forward that, you know, up a little bit, we started to then duplicate by teaching the essays, the GAs, the MGAs, how to operate the full hiring process from start to finish. We were doing this at hire, so it was an expectation that they would you know, go through the interview process and learn it. Because if we're telling you we're hiring you as a manager, we need to have integrity, and we need to teach you how to be a manager from the start. So with that, you just hire me, and you're teaching me prior to being licensed the hiring process and all that. Right. So like having you come in basically and setting up interviews, sitting in through the interview process like a couple times, and then also you know, being able to show you how once you execute on that, you're now going to have somebody in your car when you get released, making you twice as productive. And we showed like data from someone who was by themselves versus somebody that was, you know, hiring from the jump. And the activity was double. So from there, towards the end of the year, we really started to put a referral presentation focus, and that's what increased our efficiency in the field to allow us to also add traditional recruiting and traditional hiring into the mix. And that really just diversified our avenues. And so we were at 9% referral presentations in the first quarter of 2018, and we were almost at 50% for the first quarter of 2019.
Wow.
So that was a big focus. That was, just astronomical numbers, but really focusing on it quarter over quarter, starting with your starting five inspection. You have to inspect what you expect. So I started inspecting my trainers, making sure that I was good, they were good. Then that started to duplicate out. That process didn't happen overnight because we had to try to fix old habits, which is why anyone here today, you're very blessed to have the systems and processes, because we went and figured those out, and we're still figuring them out. So you're part of the learning curve as well. But what took me 5-6 months to understand is being taught in day 3 of training.
Correct.
So really that duplication of creating managers that hire, and then just investing in the business and focusing on referrals, so there's more time to hire, more time to develop leadership, and not just scrambling to call discount cards to get appointments, so there's no time for any of the extra stuff.
Yeah. So it really sounds like you started to delegate, right, and allow people to grow and take ownership of their own business.
Yeah.
And with that, obviously, your first MGA, Miss Sheree McCarty, I mean, she kind of a big deal, right?
Yeah.
She's done very well.
I think I've heard of her before.
Yeah, she's done very well for herself, and obviously for your family and your guys' organization. So, when you find that person who wants to take ownership, it sounds like you were giving it to them. But you said something earlier that I want to kind of come back to, because this isn't a normal mindset. Because when Sheree was about to give birth, you passed your test how many days prior to?
2 days before. So I passed on May 29th of 2017.
Okay, and so then she was born on?
She was born on the 31st.
Okay. So what was your thought process going into that? Because most people would have just been like, hey, you know what, I've got, my baby's about to come, ultimately any day, any moment, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna just kind of pull back and all this. What was your thought process going into why it was so important for you to get that done at that time?
Well, there's a little bit of pressure. That 2017, wasn't my greatest start to my year. I was only making like $1,500 a month playing poker. Sheree was doing really well in real estate. She was going out of commission for a little while, so
yeah.
She was making way more than me. I'm like, I need to get this together to provide for our daughter. So it was kind of an urgency thing. Like, I had no choice. I kind of I respond well under pressure. Yeah. There was a lot of pressure. I couldn't wait around anymore. I needed to get it done. I tried to take the test in my 6th day. I failed. I took it in day 10 and passed. I went in on day 6 on 0 sleep. I actually fell asleep on the keyboard at my testing facility. They had to wake me up. And I got a 69 on the test.
So you missed it by, you fell asleep and you missed it by 1.
Yeah, I think I pressed a button wrong. So we'll just use that. No excuses, though. I should have just studied harder. But I was upset. I was really upset. I was in the car and I didn't want to move for an hour. I was like frozen. I was like, oh my God. And then I was like, because the baby at that point hadn't, could have been born at any second, right? So then I had to schedule it right away. Yeah. As it was, baby was 2 weeks late. So, it almost could have created an obstacle because I needed to be home for the first 2 weeks or so. To go into the funnier part of that story, I got invited to Rocky Point. Shout out to you, Sheree, wherever you are. You weren't too happy about this back in the day, but I got invited to Rocky Point by David and by Dustin. And I remember David told me, because I was like, dude, I don't think I can go. I got a newborn at home. I'm not even released. I don't deserve this. He's like, bro, if you don't go, Dustin's never going to invite you to another trip again. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I know that wasn't true, but I went, of course, and it was worth it. And I met Eugene and Dustin and everybody there. So Trace was there, Justin Herman, and a lot of leaders from today.
When was that? That was August?
That was June of 18 before I even had 17 before I even had the script in my hand. Wow. This was like a few days after, like we had the baby. I was kind of like, hey, I need a week or two. And then in that week or two, I got invited to Rocky Point. Wow. On like 2 days notice. And I was like, I didn't know what to say. Sheree wasn't a part of of AIL yet, so she didn't really want me leaving like that, right? Yeah. Thank you, Sri. Appreciate you for dealing with that, because it obviously paid off. And you know, the reason they said I was invited was because I was executing my starting 5, you know, from hire. And we had, you know, by this point, you know, 5 licensed agents, you know, by 2 weeks after I passed the test.
Wow.
So that was a game changer for me, and there was a lot of pressure, and I think that's what helped me execute at a higher level.
Good. And so you, how has having your mentors allowed you to reach a level of success so early in business? Because, you know, what would you say to the newest agent about finding a mentor and listening to them? Because there's so many stories probably people would not have responded the way that you did, right? But how has having a mentor been able to help propel you to the next level and just kind of keep you on track when so early and so new in the business?
Yeah, my mentors are literally the reason why I'm here today. I mean, without them, I would have probably not made it through October, maybe not even made it through training. Due to everything that was going on, I could have took the easy way out, secured the 1,500 at you know, Vegas or Talking Stick and all that, and been gone at night while the baby was sleeping. That was the best time to play anyways, and kind of taking the basketball shorts and a hoodie approach. Was actually why we live out in Queen Creek, because that was the lifestyle at the time, so I didn't really know it was going to be, you know, coming out this way. But my mentors really got me on track. They helped me identify my 10-year plan. I always saw 90 days in advance. I didn't really see past that. Okay. I think that was an advantage that I had, though, is I could see 90 days in advance. Like, if you asked me what I'm doing for the next 90 days, I could tell you, like, pretty much every day, not exactly what times of everything, but I know exactly what's going on. As a matter of fact, I actually know pretty much through August, so about 4 months right now.
Yeah.
My mentors helped me develop that long-term plan, and, like, really, you know, gave me ownership, dealt with my crap, we'll put it that way. So your managers deal with a lot of stuff, so be grateful for them, because, you know, they don't get paid to do that necessarily. They got a lot of things to do, and we got families at home, so they were taking those late phone calls, meeting with me, you know, as often as necessary. I would call me and David would talk 5 times a day. I would call Dustin every day when I was first starting. He'd answer, you know, initially when I was, like, not even a name on the board, without an agent number, maybe once every 2 or 3 calls, and that became once every 2. Became, you know, if he didn't answer, he'd call me back, and then it was calling me and helping develop me. And I know he has so many people to work with, so I appreciate that a lot, because, like, I never had that type of mentorship in the past. It was kind of go figure it out. You know, you did this, you got recognized for that, so now it's your time to shine. Like, don't call me, I got other people to develop, kind of thing. Yeah. But it was the complete opposite. It was like, the more I did, the more help I got, versus and, you know, other things, they just assume maybe you're there and you made it. So my mentors got me reading the right books, getting on the right track with my schedule, discipline, how to lead people better, and how to, you know, be a better person personally and professionally, and, you know, all around. So shout out to David and Eugene, Dunbar, Dustin, everybody.
Absolutely. And what would you say to the newest person that maybe they haven't found their leader, or they're brand new and they're just like, what's even a mentor, right? I mean, just because I had a job before and I punched a clock and, you know, I did my job. So what would you, how would you encourage them about, you know, seeking a mentor out? Because I know, I'm just going to speak for myself, in my opinion, I don't think there's anything more valuable at this stage in my career than a mentor, right? You can go anywhere and you can make money and you can do things, right? But when you find someone who lives the life that you want and treats people the way that you want to, and has a business and, you know, all of those things, that mentorship, I mean, it's priceless, right? So how would you encourage the newest person to seek out a mentor and say, hey, I'm going to attach my red wagon to yours and you know, lead me to where I want to go?
Yeah, so make the phone call, send the text message. Sometimes we feel like, I've heard guys on my team, you know, tell their trainer they're scared to call or text me, or they're scared to call or text David. Sure, you know, some of her new hires, they're scared to call me, David, her, whatever it might be. So don't be scared. I mean, I was calling the SGA of the year until he answered the phone, because I wanted help, and that was that. I'm not going to give out Dustin's number to everybody right now. I wouldn't appreciate that, but he'll take your phone call, he'll answer your text, reach up a little bit more direct as well. Who's in your office? Who's running your office? Who's in charge of your team? Who's in charge of your office? Who's in charge of your region, your territory, and tell them, hey, look, this is what I'm going to bring to the table. This is what I want. This is what I'm asking from you. Is that something we can make happen?
Yeah.
And then eventually that phone call needs to turn into the one I made to David after October, and I made the decision to snap. I said, David, thanks for everything you've done for me. I'm no longer going to use you as an excuse, but only a resource. At this point forward, everything in my business is my responsibility. So every trainee, every interview, every meeting, every investment, like, I'm gonna call you. I'm not telling you like peace out, but like I'm not going to expect anything anymore. This is my responsibility. Thank you for what you've done and what you've shown me, but besides for our daily call, like, I got this.
Yeah.
And like that's the call I made to him, and that's the call I encourage you guys all to make to your mentor after they get you on your feet. And kind of once you go from crawling to walking, you got to be the one to teach yourself to run. They can get you on your toes and teach you left foot, right foot, but then it's kind of your deal from there.
Teach yourself to run. I'm writing that down. I love that because so much of this that you've seen, and so much of and I'm just going to speak for myself. I think your growth has come because of you taking ownership of the process, right? It was, okay, David, I appreciate you, I love you, and I have respect for everything you've done. But in order for me to go to where I want to go, I got to do it. I can't expect you to do it for me, right? And so that's where it's no coincidence that you've had the success, the board of director in 9 months, and haven't missed one cent, because when you take ownership of things, that's like Dustin says, that's when he knows the future, right? Because he creates it, right? And so that's where there's so much here. My paper is completely full, so I'm going to do my best to summarize this. But what you said is being at the right place at the right time, and I couldn't agree more with, especially where we are as an agency, of all that we've learned through the last 3 years of developing SGA of the year and all of those things. Now you are truly at the right place at the right time with a referral focus and a personal recruiting focus. You went on your first road trip by yourself. Mm-hmm. That it seems like it's unheard of nowadays. And so when you talked about David, hey, I've got 3 people in my car. Hey, I've got 3 people in my car. What do I do? Figure it out, right? And so constantly it just comes back to, Michael, you made a decision to seek, right, and a decision to learn, but you kind of understood that this is going to be an imperfect process. You're going to learn while you go. Mm-hmm. But to think that you took your test in 6 days but passed it in 10, and Audrey was born 2 days later, is just, it's absolutely amazing to think about the challenges that you've overcome. And you hit 2 years? No, 2 years is going to be in May, or
June 22nd, I believe, was my
code date.
Yeah. Okay,
so we're not even at 2 years yet. So it's incredible to see the growth that you've had. And so from our perspective, we're proud of everything that you got going on. But I just wrote this down. Be bold. I just feel like that's just what you've done the last almost 2 years. Just be bold, take ownership, but then to finish with you guys, make the call in order to get that mentor, to ask for help. Make the call, because everyone's here to help. We're very bad mind readers, right? So when you need help, please reach out, ask your mentor, ask your MGA, or even go as high as Dustin or myself. So please reach out and ask for help, but go teach yourself how to run. Hey, Michael, anything else that you want to say?
Just, I can't take anything away from my mentors. Again, I know we talked about that. Even though I had to teach myself to run and make that phone call and stuff, that doesn't mean that I don't call David every day still and talk to Dustin 3 times, every day if necessary. Like, I definitely do. And so, don't disconnect yourself. But at the same time, just it's that ownership. And people are ready to give it to you. It's just a matter of when you're ready to take it. So make the decision that you're going to take it. And guys, things can change. 60 to 90 days ago, whatever you did, you're seeing right now. If you're trying to set up the next 60 to 90, It's what you're doing right now that you're going to see in the next 2 to 3 months. So make it happen. Don't let off the gas pedal. You got 90 days to turn everything around, and you can see 100, 200, 400, 500% growth in a 90-day run, 90-day blitz.
Absolutely. So Michael, thank you again for your time. So let's go out there. Let's make this our best week ever. Make sure you post your takeaway. Again, post it on Instagram. Use the hashtags. Make sure you tag Michael, tag the agency, so we can see it. So then we can feature your video next week on here as the best takeaway Tuesday from this week's leadership podcast. So we hope you all go out there and create the habits that you need for the next 60 to 90 days. And let's go out there and make it our best week ever. We'll talk to you soon.